Welcome to The Explainer. Sometimes the biggest questions we have, they find their answers in the simplest things. Today, we're digging into a sermon that does just that, using something we all know, a loaf of bread, to talk about our universal search for meaning.
So let's just start with this question. What are you really hungry for? The sermon we're breaking down today argues that this question, it gets at something deep inside all of us. That feeling that goes beyond just needing food or shelter. It's this shared, universal craving for meaning, for purpose, for something that actually lasts. And believe it or not, a 2,000-year-old metaphor offers an answer: bread. So the sermon we're diving into is from Pastor Jeevan Kishore Gurram, and he argues that this ancient symbol, it really holds the key to a kind of satisfaction that doesn't just fade away. The whole idea is, if we can just wrap our heads around this metaphor, we might start to understand that inner restlessness a lot of us feel.
All right, let's get into it. To really understand this, we've got to start with the sermon's foundation, its core analogy. And it begins with something every single one of us can relate to: food.
So, the sermon kicks off by pointing out something pretty obvious but profound when you think about it. Every single culture has its staple food, right? The thing that provides that basic, essential physical nourishment. You see it right here: rice in South India, roti in the North, tortillas in Latin America, ugali in Africa. This daily bread, whatever form it takes, is literally the foundation of physical life. It's this shared, universal need that really connects all of us as human beings.
But here's where it gets interesting. The sermon takes this idea of physical hunger and pivots. It uses it as a kind of gateway to talk about a totally different kind of hunger, a deeper, spiritual one. The argument is simple. Just like our bodies crave food, our souls are craving something more. And that right there sets the stage for the big problem this whole talk is trying to solve.
Okay, so if we've all got this deeper spiritual hunger, why do so many of us feel, unsatisfied, restless? The sermon's answer is pretty straightforward. It's because we're chasing after things that just don't last. We're going for the temporary fixes.
And to make this point, the sermon brings up this story from the Bible, in John chapter 6. It's a pretty famous one. Jesus feeds this huge crowd, like 5,000 people, with just a tiny bit of food. It's a miracle. But what happens the next day? The crowd comes looking for him again, and it's pretty clear they're just hoping for another free lunch. And Jesus calls them out on it. He basically says, "You've missed the whole point. You're just chasing after food that spoils, another temporary fix." And this is where a really key distinction is made. The crowd, they try to compare it to the manna their ancestors ate in the desert, that other miraculous food from heaven. But the sermon points out that Jesus is drawing a sharp line in the sand. He's contrasting that temporary, survival food with what he calls the true bread from heaven, something that offers permanent, eternal spiritual life, not just keeping you alive for one more day.
Okay, so here's where the sermon really brings this idea home, into our world right now. The point is that, just like that perishable food, a lot of the things we spend our lives chasing, wealth, career success, pleasure, all those achievements, they only provide a temporary satisfaction. Sure, they might make you feel full for a little while, but they always leave that same underlying hunger, that restlessness.
And to really nail this point down, the sermon brings in this incredible quote from St. Augustine. "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." That just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of constant searching, that sense that we're fundamentally built for something more, and that anything less is always going to leave us feeling a little empty, a little incomplete. Right, so we've laid out the problem, this whole cycle of chasing temporary fixes. So what's the solution? Well, the sermon introduces its answer, and honestly, it's pretty radical.
And this right here, this is the absolute core claim of the entire sermon. The solution to that deep, nagging hunger isn't a thing you can buy, it's not a philosophy you can learn, it's not an achievement you can earn. In this metaphor, the solution is a person.
Which brings us to this key verse from John 6:35. "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And you have to see the profound shift happening here. He's not saying, "I will give you bread." He's saying, "I am the bread." He's claiming to be the source of satisfaction itself.
And the sermon explains this in a brilliant way. The idea is that Jesus isn't meant to be a side dish in your life, just an add-on, something nice to have that complements the main course. No, the claim is that he is the main course, the essential staple food for your soul, the thing you can't be nourished without.
Okay, but that's a pretty abstract idea, right? So what does it actually mean to eat this bread of life? This is where the sermon gets practical and moves from the what to the how.
And the answer it gives is surprisingly simple. It's not some complicated ritual, it's not a deep philosophy you have to master. It really just boils down to two personal actions: to come to Him and to believe in Him. It's framed less as a religion and more as an invitation to a personal relationship.
And the sermon uses this great analogy to explain it. Think about it. You can stand in front of the most incredible feast you've ever seen. You can admire how it looks. You can even know all the ingredients and nutritional facts. But none of that is going to fill your stomach. Not one bit. And the point is, it's the same here. Just agreeing with the idea intellectually isn't enough. It requires personal participation. You have to actually eat, so to speak.
So, where does this all leave us? How do we wrap this up? The sermon brings it all together with a final, really powerful image that has stuck with philosophers and thinkers for centuries.
It's this famous quote from the philosopher Blaise Pascal. He said, "There is a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of each man which cannot be satisfied by any created thing, but only by God the Creator." I mean, what a way to put it. It perfectly summarizes this core human dilemma, this idea that there's this built-in emptiness inside us, a hunger that all the created things in the world, money, success, even relationships, can't ever fully satisfy.
And this puzzle analogy really drives the point home, doesn't it? It's like we all have this one empty space in the puzzle of our hearts, and we spend so much of our lives trying to force the wrong pieces in there. A piece shaped like career success, or one shaped like a new car. And maybe they seem to fit for a second, but they never really lock in place. The sermon's ultimate point is that only the one who designed the puzzle, only the Creator, has the one piece that was made to fit perfectly. And so, we're left with this one last, very personal question. It takes this whole big, abstract idea and brings it right back to you and me. What are you using to try and fill that empty space in your heart? What's the bread that you're chasing? And is it really, truly satisfying you?